Hello, everyone. Hope y'all are having a nice day. Without further ado, I want to take requests from y'all. I want to do the characters that y'all want to see first. Fox and Aegis. How would a negative start? Okay. Well, while we're here, I'm actually going to explain this here. It's pretty self-explanatory, except the middle ones. So, in my personal opinion, like, if we're really thinking from a theory perspective, there aren't many matchups in this game, if any, that are truly even. You know what I mean? Maybe in like practice, a matchup's even, but if you really went like deep into like both characters' moves and their attributes, you could probably make an argument that just about any matchup is at least very slightly winning or losing, but in practice it doesn't really show up. That's what these middle tiers are meant to show. So like, think of like the blue tier as like, in practice it's even, but it's somewhere between like even or like plus 0.5, so like 0.5, 0.4, something like that. And purple is the opposite, like minus 0.5, minus 0.4, something like that. Slight loss is -1, slight wins +1. Yeah, other than that, let's get started. We'll do Aegis first. We've gotten 2 for that. This one's just kind of a slight loss. I will say, like, for one, when we get them off stage with spells, fair trains, we realistically should be taking the stock. I do agree with that. And I don't think we're helpless in neutral versus either character. With Mythra, it can be challenging, but if we stay grounded, we can kind of force Mythra to have to commit to something eventually. And if we have a decent amount of rage, we're generally able to get like decent, fair drag down strings on them to eventually get them off stage. And Pyra's not too bad in the case that we don't have to approach. But this matchup starts to fall apart when we do have to approach, because for one, like Pyra, like let's talk about Pyra, because I feel like everyone knows why Mythra wins neutral. They're really fast, just frame data, movement speed. It's easy for them to whiff punish stuff. With Pyra though, her hitboxes are huge and relatively safe. Not to mention, like her hurt box is also like insanely hard to hit in practice. Like yeah, like this stuff is like -9, -11, like other than up air, we can theoretically upbeat everything, but they need to have some pretty bad spacing to, you know, for us to actually do that. So like, I think this matchup is greatly lead dependent, and I don't think it's impossible if we don't have to lead, but it's like, when we have to approach, it's either, okay, Mythra's just gonna whiff punish us, or they can whiff punish us and eventually get the kill, or Pyra can kind of just swing for free, and unless we get like a counter read or something like that, it can be pretty hard. Like, and yeah, we have spells which help when it's somewhat even, but when we have to approach them, like, there's only so much we can do because of Blazing End. It's so big, it beats fire, then Dogga can get punished. Like, it's like our spells are better at like keeping them away rather than like using it to approach as we can in some other matchups. So it's still doable because our combos can help us get them off stage easier, but we basically have to cheese. If we're not cheesing, we kind of just lose. And even with the cheese, I feel like more often than not, they should win a little more. But it's not too bad. The next one we have is, I believe we said Fox. And I initially had this, you know, this good old loss tier, this brown loss tier for Fox, because I've been pretty adamant on him being our only -2. But I'll be honest, I'm seeing a little bit of the light. I'm being a little more optimistic. I think I can actually see it being only -1 or like -1.5 maybe. Just because, yeah, combos on him are really awkward, but they are good at kind of forcing Fox to play more carefully, and a decent like 1 or 2 fair strings does get him off stage. And when he's off stage, we have counterattack for really both of his recoveries, but more so Firefox. Jabs, if he like misspaces their side B, it's an easy way to knock them down and then force them to have to up B, and we can either counter that or even 2-frame it with down smash. Again, I still don't like the matchup. I feel like it's like, it's our closest thing to a -2, just because they're so fast on the ground. We can't like commit the spells too much because of their reflector. and we just don't really have a way to check their frame data consistently. I mean, just if y'all haven't seen there before, like frame 4 -3 on a character who basically plays like an anvil. There's only so much we can do consistently. We kind of have to just move out of the way when they jump, and when they're going for like short hops to just try to catch them preemptively with nair or fair. But the more I play it, it doesn't feel impossible. It actually feels quite doable. But like, fast character with a reflector that juggles us very hard and doesn't really have to care about us at ledge because, you know, they can just shield and up smash on reaction, or they can be even safer and just dash attack on reaction to whatever we do. I still think it's our worst matchup, but low-key, I might move him back down later, but for now, I think I'm going to keep him here. Sephiroth. Most overrated matchup in the game. I don't know, man. Like, yeah, sure, Sephiroth can destroy us off stage, I guess. But like, we have decent mix-ups with Sonic Blade, and we low-key mess up Sephiroth off stage as well. Like, if they don't have one wing, we can pretty consistently counterattack. Like, spells mess with them. They're light, so if we land like a back air, they can just die. And we also don't really have to respect their ledge shenanigans much because we can just throw out spells, really. Like, what do we care? Like, oh, you're like you're camping at the ledge with fair, jumping, you're gonna get hit by a fire at the Doggo Bazaga anyways. What Sephiroth really has is obviously just like his longer reach against our slower mobility kind of forces us to be more careful. But for one, I don't think neutral is that bad in practice, just because like Sephiroth's long range is obviously pretty solid, but I mean, he's not doing much with like any of his neutral B stuff. Shadow Flare is bad when we get hit by it, but it applies no shield pressure. Like, the snap itself applies no shield pressure, so we can just hold shield and not have to worry about, like, timing it. And other than that, it's basically him just trying to space his aerials. And, like, when we get in, it is pretty hard for him to get us off of him. Not to mention, combos are, I wouldn't say easy on Sephiroth, but they're very doable. And because of how doable they are, if we get like a decent Ars Arcanum string, we can often kill Sephiroth before one wing even begins. And I feel like one wing is like the only argument Sephiroth has for this matchup being straight up winning for him. So yeah, that's my opinion. It's always felt, I wouldn't say always. When I first picked up Sora, it felt bad, but when I got better with him, it genuinely feels like a -0.5 at worst. I low-key think it's just even now, but if anyone wins, it's him, and that's why he's there. Diddy Kong has been the character I have jumped back and forth on the most out of, like, anyone, genuinely. Like, I used to think this was, like, our worst matchup, like, straight up down here. Then I started thinking, like, okay, maybe it's slight loss. Then I went back to worst matchup. Then I started thinking it was low-key even. Now, I think I've just kind of settled on this. I think it's a -1. It's not that bad. The harsh reality of it is that banana plus monkey flip is an objectively broken combination in theory. Half screen command grab with an item, like, he's the only character that can do that, and we're relatively slow both on the ground and in the air. It's hard for us to keep him honest on that front, but at the very least, I would say we have a generally easier time getting kills, and if we do get the banana, it actually becomes pretty rough for Diddy Kong, I would say. Because now he has to interact with our aerials, and like, yeah, his aerials are fast, but not, like, none of these aerials are really doing that much on their own. Like, he wins the game by, like, winning neutral, like, 6 or 7 times, which granted, per stock, which granted he should be doing. But I feel like if we can, like, in the few moments we make it past the monkey flip minigame, I think we can get a lot out of it, but it is very demanding on execution. Like, if you don't have, like, at your bare minimum, your fair drag downs, I think it'll feel like a -2, but if you're willing to, first of all, play extremely patient, like, we can't just dash in, we're not fast enough for that. If you're willing to play patient and wait until you have an opportunity to get around the banana, are also ready to land the confirms when you get in, I think it's doable, but I feel like it's kind of copium to think it's, like, better than -1, probably. I feel like it definitely has to be losing to a certain extent. The best I can see it being is, like, right here. But I think I'm just gonna leave it in slight loss for now. Sonic, yeah, I think Sonic's high key even. Probably here. He like in theory he's closer to winning because you know it's Sonic, right? Like with that much mobility, if they get a good lead with like a couple like good like spin dash confirms, there's only so much we can do to like realistically corner them. But I don't know, man. I feel like with Faraga dash attack, even just Nair when they run out of invincibility, low key down smash at times. I think we have more counterplay for spin dash than the average character. And I would also argue that when Sonic has to get the lead back, it kind of sucks for them. Because like Sonic thrives when he's able to spin dash at you when you have to run at him, right? When you have to respect those iframes. When you don't have to respect those iframes and you're just dealing with a Sora that's just going to be pressing like the B button from the opposite end of the screen, it's kind of hard for Sonic to do a lot if the Sora just commits to being safe when they have the lead. I still think if anyone wins, it's Sonic for the reason I said earlier, like, you know, they're super fast. They probably have an even easier time keeping a lead. But I've played Sonic a lot, and Sonic was actually my first main back in 2018. I've played a good amount of Sonics. Hell, I've played 2 sets versus Sonics himself. And to me, like, it feels incredibly doable, which is ironic because I would say the main characters that beat Sora, which I think you can kind of see here, I don't think it's really the zoners. I think it's more like characters, like it's more fast characters that can just choose to not play the game. And although Sonic's kind of infamous for that, I feel like low-key we deal with him better than a lot of others. Alright, we have a lot of negativity. Let's get a winning matchup out of the way. Let's say Zelda. I think Zelda's a slight win. I think the biggest thing we have versus Zelda is that their mid-range blows. It's not good. Like, she cannot really box with our aerials at all. Like, she either has to be like full-on long-range conditioning or like landing like, I don't know, like close range like up tilt confirms or like Pharaoh's wind out of shield. And like granted, Zelda has a lot of ways to kind of cheeses the early stocks and condition us at the ledge, which is why I still think it's like not like a straight up win. I don't think we have a lot of straight up +2s, but I've played against Alo all the time, and I mean this wholeheartedly. Like, he is good enough to where if this matchup was even, he would have beaten me by now. Like, I mean that like absolutely. I don't think I would have that many wins on him if the matchup was like actually even. I just feel like Zelda struggles in mid-range too much. And like, yeah, we don't have like, ours Arcanum's kind of inconsistent on them, but we low-key don't need it. We can just juggle them. And with the new like F-tilt thing that Lemon made up, we low-key might be able to combo them well anyways. Samus. To anyone who watched Smash Factor yesterday, really sad. Kameme was playing it very well until he brought Samus to Smashville. I think Samus goes here. I genuinely think Samus struggles versus juggles a lot. Like, a lot. I think she gets juggled a lot. Ars Arcanum isn't that hard on her. Obviously, like, when she has Charge Shot ready, neutral sucks. But until then, I don't really think neutral is that bad. I would even argue they're kind of forced to like consistently put their back against the wall when they don't have Charge Shot. It's like a light switch. It's like when they don't have Charge Shot, like we generally have the advantage. When they do have like 70-80% Charge Shot, it becomes bad for us. It's just kind of a light switch is going on or off. I do think it's a little more leaning for Samus though. Like if I had to pick someone, which is why she's here, due to the fact that I think there are certain stages that Samus just becomes like broken on. Like I don't know why Kameme brought Siskui to Smashville. I think he low-key threw the set when he did that. Because like on that stage is like, okay, we just straight up can't punish Screw Attack now. So now like they're just gonna be using this frame 4 out of shield every time we get in. Whereas at least on like other stages, they either have to be at a certain position or be willing to risk just getting juggled. On Smash Bros, there's legit no risk. So I feel like on certain stages it's straight up like a -1, but on average I think it's pretty close to even. And trust me when I say I have played against Samus a lot. I have a lot of sets versus Yoshio. I hope he's doing well in Japan right now. Greninja, I think, goes here. I think when I first started playing Sora, I thought it was a little hard. And I still think if it leans to anyone, it goes there. But I feel like the biggest reason why I think Greninja's low-key doable is because I don't know like how much like footstool stuff will advance it, but I feel like having like a meh at a shield versus Sora is just always rough. Because that's like your main way of being able to deal with Sora just kind of floating around you. And from my experience, I also think Sora's floatiness makes Greninja's combos kind of weird and not work. From what I've played in Philly and LI, I think Greninja kind of wins neutral, but he has a harder time not only racking up a lot of damage, but like, I wouldn't say getting kills actually. Getting kills is pretty simple once he gets us to that percent, but I think he has to put in a little more effort to get us to that percent. Whereas Sora is like, okay, if I land in there, you're taking like 50 minimum. Like you're taking 50% in the first one. The next one, I start a juggle sequence and you either die or like confirm into up smash you. Like I feel like realistically Sora can be killing Greninja off of like 2 or 3 neutral wins, so it doesn't really matter much if Greninja's winning neutral a little more. It honestly, it feels like a fair version of the Fox matchup. That's how I would describe it. Main reason why I still think if it's leaning to anyone as Greninja though, is straight up. This move's crazy. This forward air, this move is nuts. Like if they in theory, if a Greninja just keeps like spacing there, like perfectly, which again in practice it's not going to happen. I don't really know what a lot of characters do. I think this move is nuts, and it like confirms the other stuff. Mario, I think is the first one to go in this tier. Mario, like, on paper you would think we slight win it because, like, oh, it's Mario, he loses the swordies or something. But, like, for one, his out of shield is, like, straight up obnoxious. He has a frame 3 upbeat out of shield, and the only reason you forget that is because he also has, like, frame 6 nair out of shield, up smash that is just, like, insane to deal with. Like, in my opinion, you cannot attack Mario's shield from behind. You can't. If you attack Mario from behind, you will get punished. Straight up. Like, you have to, like, be really cautious of your positioning. And obviously, combos are always going to be scary. And Flood makes it to where he can... punish us a little harder off stage. But, again, we are still a swordy. We can juggle them pretty well. And in, like, late game meta, we can combo Mario just as hard as he can combo us, realistically. So I still think we win it, like in theory, I think we win it a little more, but Mario can absolutely pull his own weight in this matchup, for sure. And no, Mario was a matchup issue at Ivy League 20 because I lost the game. I lost the game and that was very scary, but I still won it. Can we give D3 a tier of his own as our best matchup? I mean, there aren't going to be a lot of characters in, like, the hard win tier. I think I might just leave him here. I do think, after thinking about it more, DDs are probably our best matchup. Because, like, he gets comboed for free. Not only does he get comboed for free, he can't really out-camp us either. Like, we don't really have to respect his, like, jumps in the air into, like, Nair and Hail minigame as much if we just kind of stay out of the way. And, like, if he hits us, it's like, okay, the best he might get is, like, a scary ledge situation. But even that requires, like, a decent read. If we hit them, they should just, like, take 50, 60, and they might just, like, die, honestly, if we have enough space. Rough matchup for them. Absolutely. Like, one of my best friends from Philly, actually, is, like, kind of the best DDD in Philly. Only reason I say kinda is because, like, Bryce is, like, technically the best, but I don't know how much he's playing right now. But like, yeah, that matchup is brutal for Dedede, bro. It's bad. Like, I think that matchup falls apart for Dedede the moment the Sora commits to playing as lame as the Dedede literally has to. This might be a hot take. I think Kazuya goes here. Some Soras seem to think we like slight win this matchup, but if a good Kazuya can like do like the reflector kick off the rip, we have to be more wary about when we use Faraga, because like if we use Faraga and he reflects it, we're done. Like we can't use it anymore. And now we have to try to like cycle out of Thundaga when Kazuya can just like crouch dash to us like a maniac. I would say Blizzaga's also like just a good spell to have, but like again, like it's not like there isn't counterplay. We can kind of edge guard them because, you know, they're pretty slow in the air. If we counter up B, they die. We can fair train them theoretically. But like, I feel like people also sleep on their mix-ups. And going on to what Kazuya's good at, like, just to keep it simple, our main combo starter is an aerial, and their main combo starter is an anti-air. We can't occupy the airspace around their shield like we like to do versus the average character. Like, I don't think there are many characters I can think of that have like that can threaten airspace that well, and it's not like at least even, if not losing. We don't lose to him at all, I don't think. Which is like, maybe Kazuya goes here. I might put Kazuya there. I think like endgame Sora, because like we don't, again, like, yeah, like you're right, we don't need Nair. We can like catch a landing, we can down tilt or something. I think like endgame Sora should just be killing Kazuya pretty early. I think a good disciplined Kazuya that also just knows how to mix up like true confirms and also just like putting us in a bad spot. I don't think there's like any universe we slight win, I'll be honest. It's either here or here. I think I'm just gonna leave him. I think I'll leave him here. I think that's fair. This one's so weird, dude, because it's like, outside of spells, I don't really see how we win this, but spells are so bad for them. Like, the thing with Shulk is that without Monado Arts, he's pretty unremarkable. Annoying out of shield, but that's about it. Nair's hard to punish, but like other than that, he's pretty straightforward. Going through each Monado art, shield art's obviously annoying. It hurts our ability to get like early kills a lot of the time, which sucks. But I don't think this has like zero counterplay. Like a lot of the time, I'll even like up throw to like bait out a shield art, like either baiting out a shield art, just kind of like juggling up like weak moves, or hell, even just disengaging. I think shield art's annoying, but it's not the end of the world because we can also get kills off of like the main thing being edge guards. Like a good counter attack can usually just nut us to stop. Outside of shield, like if we can't get a confirm with the shield art, we can also edge guard. Speed art is extremely scary if they hit us, but because of their lower jump height, it becomes harder for them to like actually like jump over our spells. Jump art is usually just used to get around us, which is like whatever. And Buster and Smash Art kind of just get camped out, although obviously Smash Art at the ledge is terrifying. I'm gonna be honest though, if it leans to anyone, I still think it's them. I feel like Shulk is still like, I know it sounds like I'm I'm coping with the Shulk mains, like guys, this character's top 10, I swear. This character's gonna change the meta. It sounds like coping. But I feel like Monado Arts, there are just so many different combinations and ways you can use it in neutral. Sora's a slow character. I think spells are the only reason this is even to begin with, and it feels dismissive to think that like, oh, we'll just spell camp them and we slight win versus the character that has like PK hacks on speed dial, and if they read us off stage once, we just die. Like it's hard for me to imagine that ever being winning for us. I'll be honest. I think it's even though. I'd probably put it here. That's just me though. I've played versus Soul Arts and Ranger, so I've had a good amount of experience in it. It feels even to me, I would say. Hear your thoughts on Luigi? I put Luigi here. I think Luigi goes there. Guy is the only Luigi to like consistently beat me, and I honestly just think it's a player diff right now. But I do acknowledge that Luigi, like, here's the thing. Yes, obviously if we get grabbed, it sucks, but he doesn't even need a grab to, like, get crazy confirms. Like, a good Luigi can get stuff off of, like fair, back air, nair into up B, dude. Like, I died to nair up B, like, 3 times last time I fought Guy. Like, in each of, like, the 3 games we played, I lost 1-2. I swear he landed that, and it's like, because you're like jumping around to get away from grab, but like if he calls that out and hits you with an aerial, you kind of just get stuck in a vortex because the lead Sora isn't that fast. And Cyclone, obviously it's easy to say like, okay, just hard call it out. But the fact that we even have to like respect their landing because of that move already adds a different dynamic to the matchup. It's part of the reason why I think the Minmin matchup is even, which I'm gonna get to later. But like the fact that we even have to respect that move as an option, I think it helps a lot. Luigi's really volatile. The only reason I could see it still being slight win is that maybe it's easier to edge guard him than I think. I still think we edge guard him pretty well, but not like for free in the way that like it felt when I used to play Meta Knight or something. I play some high level Luigis and they both think Sora wins pretty solidly. Yeah, Guy thinks we lose. I mean, I'm not doing a good job of convincing him otherwise, I'll admit that. And I still feel like Guy is the only Luigi that beat me like solidly. I faced Kiarash online and I lost like last hit game 3 because I didn't care anymore. But like I genuinely think Guy is the only one that like I've like put a lot of effort into beating and haven't. I just acknowledge that Luigi is a lot more volatile in practice than people want to admit. And if all of these characters really like slight beat Luigi or whatever, he wouldn't be this popular everywhere. Like, clearly this is not as easy in practice as it is in theory, because otherwise we would have figured this out by now. Like, a bunch of Luigis are still popping up now. I think Luigi's pretty underrated, but I do think overall it might lean more towards us, but it's definitely still volatile. You always have to factor in that, like, yeah, even in theory, if we should be winning these micro interactions more consistently, Luigi is always going to have the swing factor on his side, regardless of how safe we play, whatever we do, the swing factor is always going to be on their side. What do you think as a former Meta Knight main? I've tried to take away my bias. My bias would say it's here. I have personally not struggled much in it. I mean, yeah, I've lost to Bonk, but it's Bonk, and I've also beaten him before. Meta Knight being extremely stubby makes the matchup a lot easier for us than you would think. But I do acknowledge he has great mobility. He can obviously kill us pretty early, very early, with ladders, and he's one of the only characters in the game that can, like, consistently afford to edge guard us. Like, I think that's the main reason why I still think if it leans to anyone, it's Meta Knight, because you might get an edge guard if you, like, get a hard call out with counterattack, but, like, realistically, it's just not happening. Whereas Meta Knight, we always have to be mixing up versus him. Like, people say Sephiroth checkmate us off stage. I think Meta Knight can do it way better. But at the same time, he's still really stubby, and, like, yeah, he can combo us, but we can also combo him if you get good with, like, Ars Arcanum. A little hard because of frame to air dodge, but to me, it feels like maybe like a minus 0.5, but nothing that's that crazy in practice if you know what you're doing. But again, I acknowledge I might be biased on this because I've played him before, so obviously I'm going to be more in tune to like the general counterplay than like some other character, right? To keep it on Philly characters, let's get this one out of the way. Bowser Jr. is a slight win. Gets comboed pretty easily. We can kind of keep their clown card in check with stuff like back air, well-timed nairs, Faraga, but we have to acknowledge, like, just they do have like really good mobility with clown cart regardless. They get a lot of damage off of like very few neutral wins. Like, all it really takes for Bowser Jr. is like one up air string, which he'll probably get because they're really floaty, into like a good ledge trap sequence or catching us out of shield, and we can die pretty early. Like, I don't think we hard win it or anything. Again, they're combo food. It's pretty hard for them to catch us in neutral if we don't have an incentive to approach. I also think their Mecha Koopa shenanigans kind of fall apart at times because if we counter it, we don't have to acknowledge anymore. We can counter it, or hell, even just like Z catch it. If Bowser Jr. had a way to like instantly catch his projectile, I would argue this matchup could low-key go to like here, but that's a pretty big hypothetical. Like if Bowser Jr. could do that, he would be like high tier. You definitely have to keep your eyes open in neutral because you can just explode if you're not paying attention. But I don't think it's a hot take to say we win pretty solidly. Pichu. If you asked me about this matchup winter 2022, I would unironically have it here. I hated this matchup in like late 2022, early 2023. It's low-key fine now. The thing with this matchup is it's like when you lose neutral, it sucks. Like getting juggled, trying to not like insta-die off stage. And we also don't talk about the fact that Pichu's close range frame data in general is just obnoxious. Like frame 3 -4 is just objectively insane game design. that is an autopilot move. They straight up win the close range, and combos are extremely annoying on them, but it's also, we don't really need to do combos because they're the lightest character in the game. Like if we get like a down tilt up air when they're at like 80, they just explode. They can explode to that. Although IDJs are kind of annoying because they fall so fast, we can usually get drag downs off of just like normal fair. And although yes, they're fast, they're also stubby, so they're not going to do much at straight mid-range, and they can't even play long range for that long because their T-Jump does damage to themselves. I still like, because Pichu's so fast and neutral though, it does still make it very scary, and off stage at times feels like a checkmate, because if you don't get dared, you have to play the mini game of like, oh, they back aired me. Are they gonna like finish the back air and make me tech air, or are they just gonna fall fast enough to where I air dodge and die? Because Sora's air dodge is extremely long. It's definitely still a little difficult, but I don't see it being worse than -0.5. I would put it here. It's fine. Lucina, I think goes here. I used to think it was up here, but I took for granted just how good it is to not only have like a strong out of shield, but also just like general combination of frame data and agility. The reason why I used to think we slight won it and it's still a boon we have in the matchup is just because like they have to respect our spells a lot. They don't really have a long range game. And not only do they not have a long range game, a big general good part of Lucina is that it's hard to contest a recovery because it's like instant and has invincibility, right? But our counterattack actually forces her to be a lot safer with it, and if we counterattack the up B, she kind of just dies, which I feel like that greatly nerfs her off-stage game in a way. But on the opposite side of the coin, she can also edge guard us pretty well. Like we have to be careful on how we recover, because like she has the mobility to kind of wait us out and like fair us or backer us. If we try to recover high and she calls it out, we get F smashed. It's a lot more volatile than I gave it credit for. And trust me, I've played this matchup a bunch. Like I'm talking like three real sets versus Mr. E, and like friendlies. I remember playing it. Let's make big moves. I do think part of it is a player gap, and I still think if anyone wins it, it's us. But I've kind of decided it's not as simple as I tried to make it out to be. Even like watching like Kameme play versus Proto, like the games that Proto won versus Kameme, I remember most of them were actually with Lucina and not Minmin. So I feel like even off of that, like I feel like putting Lucina in slight win after that would be crazy. Next up, Lucas. I'm gonna be honest though, I haven't had a crazy amount of concentrated practice with this character, but just off of what I've watched with Lucas, they're pretty stubby. They have that same recovery issue with Ness, where like if we catch their up B, they kind of just die. I will say their frame data is actually a lot better than people give credit for, but he's a little too floaty to make use of it a lot of the time. The main reason why I think we win it though is just because like their mid-range kind of sucks. Their mid-range is pretty rough. PK Fire can be annoying, but it's not that great of an actual like spacing tool. It's more of a like it'll catch your dash in, but it's not gonna keep you out if you play carefully. The only reason I can kind of see this being here though is because I don't know how good their two framing is against like a better Lucas. Like if they're like consistently landing like down smashes, if they're using PK Thunder correctly, I can kind of see it being here. but I don't know, man. It just feels kind of hard for them, and I think his Earthbound friend Ness goes there too. I think Ness has some things over, but also worse than Lucas. Main thing Ness has is that, like, not only does he also have really good close range frame data, a lot of these moves just kill, so you can't really be in this damage radius bubble at higher percents, otherwise you just die, and you can't punish a lot at shield. But he's even stubbier than Lucas because of that, so our mid-range becomes stronger. His recovery is worse because he doesn't have the tether that Lucas has, and his up B goes not as far, so he doesn't have as much mix-up with his recovery. Ness is a better matchup than Lucas. I don't know. I feel like both of them kind of struggle for, like, similar but also different reasons. Like, I think Ness is a lot more explosive. I also feel like PSI Magnet is really good for this matchup. Not even just because of, like, how it deals with projectiles. It just makes his movement, like, this is his mid-range tool. This move. This, like, PSI Magnet is his way of, like, getting us to whiff punish and then punishing, like, getting us to whiff and then punishing us accordingly. I think this move's doing pulling a lot of weight for him. Still think it's a slight win though, and I'm kind of just getting player diff by PK Chris right now, but I will stop that eventually. I do think it's a little harder than dedede in, like, in practice, but I mean, come on. Gets comboed for free. If he throws his crown, we counter it, he can't use it anymore. There goes, like, half his neutral. Like, the main thing he has is, like, okay, if he wins neutral, it kind of sucks, because he has a lot of ways to kind of cheese stocks, like spikes off stage, strong, like, up air, fair, and all that stuff. But the thing is, like, I just don't really think it should happen. He gets comboed for free. He can't really out-camp us. We counter his up B. Like, the best thing he has in this matchup is just, like, his belly armor that we have to respect, and it does help. Don't get me wrong, it does help. If he didn't have the belly armor, it'd be like +3. But I don't know, man. I would low-key... The only reason I don't have this matchup in a tier of its own is because I have seen Brujo, whatever, do pretty well versus Unleashed at times. That's, like, the only reason. But yeah, it's bad. Palutena, I think once we get, like, more consistent, once I get more consistent doing these combos, I think Palu goes there. She just gets comboed so hard. Ars Arcanum works consistently. Drag downs themselves are pretty good. And she doesn't, like, at low percent, she's gonna want a Nair, which we can up B out of shield consistently. Fair and back air are annoying, but, like, it's not really gonna get her much at those lower percents. So she's gonna have to go for one of her combo stars eventually. Really, her main win condition is, like, get a good lead, use her better mobility, back air, and explosive flame, auto reticle to just kind of keep us out, which does work. But I think with our own spells and our generally more consistent damage output, it feels like once both metas develop, I feel like Sora's gonna have a slightly easier time. But trust me, I still acknowledge Palutena's broken. Like, crazy frame data on, like, fair and back air, really good mobility, good projectiles. Up air is feels impossible to land versus at times. This is absolutely, like, if we win it, it's like a +0.1. But I definitely think it's even, and if I had to pick someone to win, I'm starting to lean towards Sora. I think Pokemon Trainer goes here. I do think if anyone wins, it's probably PT, just because I feel like having 3 Pokemon to deal with different weaknesses and stuff. Down B, while we can frame trap it, it does force us to kind of use our brain more with combos. But I think we have ways to deal with all 3 Pokemon pretty well. Squirtle's obviously very small, fast frame data. It can be hard for, like, it can be pretty annoying when we do get hit, but he's extremely stubby. Like, unless he gets a good whiff punish, we should be winning neutral against Squirtle generally. And they're so light. It's like, if we do, like, even, like, a decent combo, and it's like one up air, if they're not swapping, they're, like, genuinely at risk of just dying. Neutral, I would argue, plays the most patiently in this matchup for both characters, but I would almost say Sora kind of wins neutral a little more. It's just that, like, when Squirtle gets on this disadvantage, it does kind of suck. Because they get like a decent amount of damage, they have a water gun, they usually spray us off stage, and now we have to swap the Ivysaur. And Ivysaur, this is a really fun... The Ivysaur-Sora matchup is really funny, because I feel like both characters just kind of invalidate each other once they win neutral. Like, if we have to land versus whatever this is, yeah, that sucks. And the moment you don't get hit by this, you're getting hit by Vine Whip if there was an animation for it. I'm sure you've been hit by Vine Whip before. It sucks. But then now, Ivysaur, the floaty character whose closest thing to a landing option is his Nair, has to deal with this move. He has to deal with that. And even just like land, like he has to deal with that and like not get caught by like just like another Nair or something. Like, we juggle each other for free, and I think we also both kind of edge guard each other pretty well. It's just who wins neutral, and I think neutral's pretty even. I think they have like Razor Leaf plus range grab are good tools, but I think like walking and just being safe around it, I think people overrate Ivysaur's neutral a lot. I think it's extremely doable for both parties. We both mess each other up. And then finally Charizard, who, maybe it's just my Philly bias, I think this Pokemon is extremely underrated in this matchup. In the sense that I think he does just as well as these other two for different reasons. Their out of shield is amazing. Amazing. Very fast up smash. Up B with armor. Like, we cannot just be fishing for Nair. We're kind of forced the hard cam, which can work. It works okay, and if we do get neutral, we get a lot of damage because he's a heavyweight, obviously. But like, this matchup becomes straight up scary when we're at like even like somewhat high percentage Charizard's out. I think just like the fact that they can Pokemon swap and kind of mitigate the weaknesses that would exist if they were separate characters, I think it would lean more towards them if anyone, but I'm starting to think it's just straight up even now. Minmin, I think, goes here. So here's this funny thing, if you don't know, if we counter Minmin's arm on the ground, she becomes stunned, and we can get like a grab, dash tag, or even a Nair if we're close enough. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so they can just call out our counter. The fact that we even are able to make them second guess about throwing out an arm in neutral is so big. Like, that is such a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that they even have to like consider like, oh, maybe I should grab a neutral instead, or like delay an arm instead, rather than just being able to just like go wild at long range, is a huge deal for us getting in. Hell, even without counterattack for getting in, like, Minmin can't deal with jump-ins too well, and I would like, you would be surprised how much our Nair clanks with their aerials at times. Ars Arcanum is really doable on them. I do it all the time, and they get juggled pretty well. Not super well though, because Nair can be kind of annoying. They get juggled pretty well. Off stage is bad for them. Obviously, it's still Minmin, right? If we lose neutral, great. We're trying to land versus the long range zoner that can kill us at 50. Like, I'm not insane. I don't think this is ever gonna lean towards us, but from what I've played, it has always felt very doable to me. Like, it feels like if it's losing, it's like minus 0.2. I don't think it's like minus 0.5. It's fine. So counter more neutral. I would say like counter more initially just to make them fear the option, and then from there you mix up. You shouldn't just mash counter, because like they can just like charge an F smash, right? But it's like you want to force them to respect the option. I think I put Byleth here. Byleth can obviously be pretty scary because a good read, like, they kill us like 40, 50, they can kill us like 50, 60%. But the thing about Byleth, and I've been saying this for a while now, they can't really deal with zoning that well. I mean, their arrow's a meme, and they're pretty slow, so it's like they kind of have to force their way in neutral if we just commit to long-range game. And if they have to force their way into doing stuff, that makes it a lot easier for us to land Nair and do Ars Arcanum, which is extremely doable on Byleth. Again, I acknowledge that if they get like a good read at the ledge, or like call us out like an up B and like call out our like DI, it can be extremely volatile and scary. But I feel like both characters kind of mess each other up when they win neutral, so it kind of just turns into like, okay, I think Sora wins it a little more. I almost want to put him here, but that feels a little drastic. That feels a little drastic because like he can still occupy airspace very well with his aerials. I respect that a lot because of that range. So I don't think I put him straight up in slight win. But I do think it leans towards us like plus 0.5. All right, this is gonna be a hot take. This is a hot take in a community. From what I've seen from Sora's, I don't think it's as bad as I thought initially, but I think this is a slight loss. Like straight up, like, I don't even think it's like a, okay, it's practically even, but in theory it should be, no, I think it's just a slight loss. I think Bayo is underrated as hell. Like crazy underrated for what she's doing recently. Sure, right? Do we win on the ground? Yes, we have better grounded tools. We kind of outrange their tilts of like down tilt or whatever, and we can whiff punish them, okay. But, like, you have to understand, we are a floaty versus Bayo. A floaty that wants to be in the air versus Bayonetta. The fact that as Sora we're even forced to be on the ground that much is already bad. And it's like, even if you get the even if you get out of the combo, right? Which isn't too hard to get out of like the initial combo because we're pretty floaty. Like if you just try to like, at times we might just get set too high or whatever, it's fine. But here's the thing, because we're so floaty, they can just catch our landing again. We lose neutral once, we get sent in the air, we take like 40, 50, right? And if they catch our landing, we can just die the second time. And even if we don't get caught, all right, now we're at a percent deficit, and if the Bayo is willing to play lane, it's like we're not gonna run in and down tilt. We can't just run in and down tilt. If we're lucky and they just fall asleep at the wheel, we can like dash in and grab. I think I think this matchup is fine until Bayo gets like a clear lead, and then it just turns into like, oh my god, what do I do? Because when they get a good lead, it's like, okay, now we have to jump. Like we're not gonna dash in and take the lead back by using like tilts. We can whiff punish with tilts, but we can't like force them to do something. So now we have to risk jumping in neutral, which is just gonna make the lead snowball even more. Like we can't really combo them because they're so light. If we get a good read, they can die. If we fair them off stage, we can kill them pretty early. Playing ground the Sora isn't that bad though. It's not that bad, but it's yeah, sure. If we win neutral a couple times, like down tilt and F tilt, is it possible? Yes. But the second we get grabbed, the second we get caught in neutral, it just starts the minigame. It just starts the landing minigame. Like we're a slow floaty trying to get at a disadvantage versus Bayo. Like it's not about just the initial combo. It's about like, okay, I'm out of the combo, but a smart Bayo will use their resources well enough to where they can realistically punish us again. I think it's even because Bayo has a bad disadvantage. It's like even but volatile. Really? Is Bayo's disadvantage really that bad? I mean, I think Bayo's disadvantage has flaws. It has holes, right? Like, okay, there's like, theoretically, we can get a read and do well versus Bayonetta. Whereas Bayo, like, worst case scenario, they get a combo and like, they missed the afterburner kick and now they go back to just outpacing us in neutral. If they get the read, they just start the combo up again. Like I don't even think hard reads for us even matter that much if they're not a kill percent. Like the absolute highest I'll put her is here, but even though I am optimistic on the fact that I can like play it out and I'm not gonna like pick up a different character for it or anything, from what I've played and from what I've seen, I don't understand how this is even. I really don't. And my argument is like when Bayo gets the lead and doesn't have to like force an engagement, that's where it just sucks. I think Joker goes here. Oh, Snake? I'll do Snake after. I think Joker could be a little annoying because he's really hard to combo, and obviously like Arsene, that swing factor is always going to be there, and it can be kind of hard to kill a Joker that's just like hard camping for it. I'd put Joker in the tier above. Really? I don't know. I feel like Joker is just so evasive. It's like, I do think like we definitely have some clear advantages, right? Compared to Joker, our hitboxes are a lot more imposing. our average damage output is higher, like without Arsene. And I also think we do a pretty good job edge guarding them, but it's like, I think Joker should more often than not be winning neutral regardless just because of general mobility and gun. And I think it can be kind of hard to get a winning, like, finishing blow versus a Joker that is just very clearly playing to not die. I don't know, like, we're a relatively slow character. I feel like a decent Joker, if we just run in to, like, punish them, they can whiff punish us, and now it's like, okay, now we're trying to not die to Arsene back air at, like, what, like 70, 80, try to not get dared at 60. I do think we deal with Arsene pretty well. It's just, like, we can only play the game versus Arsene so many times before they inevitably get an opening, and once they get that opening, it sucks. And yes, I think we can camp it out somewhat well, but unless you're like I don't know. I just don't see Joker losing to slow characters. Like I think that's just from my take from what I used to play Joker. I just feel like he has too much freedom in neutral to like lose to anyone that's like slow. My only exception is like Steve, because Steve is an outlier. But yeah, I don't see Joker being as volatile for us to win as like Palu or Byleth, but for sure like close to even though. Not very far from, I don't think. Snake, dude, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I jump between here and here a lot. The more I think about it though, the more I really think about it, I think it goes here. I don't think it's that bad. It's close though. It's like it's definitely like minus 0.5. It's probably the hardest matchup in this tier other than like Diddy. Yes, does it suck to play? Yeah. But I mean, let's keep it a buck. He can only throw so many grenades when we're just committing to spell camping. Like, he has to jump in eventually. And is it annoying to like deal with a shield when he has a grenade and stuff? Yes. And is it still hard to like not die at a crazy percent when you can just get like when they can just get like a random grenade combo now or like 70? Yeah, and I acknowledge that. Do we lose a camping game due to this being better? I don't really think his camping game's that much better. I think if we lose this matchup for any reason, it's just because we're super light. So like, if we like trade too much with grenades, like he's just gonna kill us earlier naturally. Again, could I just be coping? Maybe. Like maybe when I face C- again, once I go back to Philly, I'm gonna like want to put this in -2. But the more I practice this matchup on my own, I really do think it's like doable, but it's not easy. It's like a -0.5. It just requires a lot of knowledge of how grenades work. I think it's harder than Bayo, not gonna lie. Maybe. I feel like I think both neutrals are annoying, but I feel like if we play proper neutral versus Snake, it feels like very doable. Whereas if we play proper neutral versus Bayo, I feel like in practice, it's like they should still like consistently be doing more damage. Like, to be honest with Snake, if we get a stock lead, I think they actually can kind of struggle. Blowing up from grenades, C4 combos is just so bad, though. Yeah, like again, I acknowledge the swing factor is there and that we are light. I just think the more I really think about it, I don't think it's as bad as the 3 I have down there. If anything, I'd move Bayo up. I don't think I'd move Snake down. I think someone asked about Pit earlier, if I'm not mistaken. So, well, first of all, are the differences between Pit and Dark Pit enough to like put them in separate tiers? Dark Pit's arrows, I feel like I think Dark Pit's arrows are better because it's just kind of a consistent, like, strong projectile you can throw out in neutral. Pits are a little annoying for off stage, but like, I mean, our recovery's so good, it doesn't matter that much. We think in Pit even, but their favorite? No, our favorite. Am I crazy for thinking this? I just feel like Pit's arrows are kind of not that good. Like, they don't do much, whereas Dark Pit's like actually forces us to respect them in neutral. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I think we slightly beat Pit like consistently, and Dark Pit's like leaning to us, but a little better for them. Because Dark Pit forces us to actually like, we have to respect them at a long range. Like, Pit's arrows aren't gonna do as much. not only do you have to respect them more in neutral, we also gonna straight up die to their arrow off stage if we're not careful, which can force like a counter or an air dodge, which isn't anything crazy, but it's still something that's better. I still think we beat both of them at least somewhat though, because outside of back air, they don't have like super safe options on our shield, and as far as I know, I don't think their out of shield is that great either. I mean, up smash is scary, and Nair, I guess, but we have like -6, -5 moves. If we like time it correctly, we can be pretty safe. And although it can be kind of annoying to juggle them because of Guardian Orbiters, I think with Ars Arcanum and even just whatever juggles we can get, I think we're generally out damaging them, and I would even argue just having an easier time killing. But I do think Dark Pit has a more nuanced neutral that we have to respect more. So I think I'm keeping it this way. I'm also going to save the current list we have now, just in case something goes awry. Alright, that should be saved now. Yeah, like what I just did there. Isn't that hilarious? I hit the buzz button. I think Game & Watch goes there. It's very doable, and probably close to even because they are very light. Like we saw this at Smash Factor. Like Game & Watch dies pretty early to even an aerial sweep out of shield. Like if they get hit by an air up smash like 80, they just die. And I do think we can kind of whiff punish them pretty well with like dash attack and Sonic Blade. But wow, when they win neutral, it sucks. Like this move is not okay. This move is super not okay. We just lose to that one. If you were going to have to hold, you just kind of have to hold like 30-40% if you get hit by this, genuinely. And we can kind of combo them. We can kind of juggle them as well too, because like our up air can outspace their down air if we time it perfectly, and we also have counterattack and just shielding it to threaten them. But yeah, I think Game & Watch. Like, if we lose neutral to Game & Watch, it sucks. If there's any reason why... Oh, also out of shield, obviously. Annoying out of shield to deal with a sword. That's why Kamehameha had to play so campy. But if there's any main reason why I think we might lose it, it's just Oil Panic. If we were able to use spells more in neutral, this matchup would be vastly different. But because of the fact that we can't just throw Thundaga out for free, or Faraga out, we have to respect this move. It forces us to play neutral a lot slower and more conservative, which opens up more opportunities for Game Watchers to kind of jump in there and start a crazy combo. And also, we died a down smash forward smash at like 60, but still very doable. I put it there. I don't really know what that mean brawler stuff was about that Kamehameha was doing. It's fine. Peach. I think Peach goes here. I used to think it was here, but I severely underestimated just how much Peach can like mix up their neutral with float. Not only mix up the neutral with float, but it's like they can do so much damage once they actually get in. I've played a lot of this matchup. I've played versus Player 4 a lot. I've played versus Cody a lot, if you know them from the New York PR. I even got to play against Nuggets one set. Let's make big moves. And the thing about this matchup is that we kind of win the mid range because of our sword, and I think we have a little better of a long range on average. But not only is their movement has a lot of mix ups, and I also just think turnip pull is broken. I think turnips are crazy. Turnips are genuinely insane. We have to respect them way more when they have a turnip in hand, and it's because we're so slow. It's hard for us to stop them from having a turnip for a lot of the match. So it forces it to play out a lot slower. If it goes to anyone, it's still us, because we can still have decent combos on them, especially with the new F tilt confirmed that Limon made or discovered. But it's definitely a lot more volatile than I initially gave it credit for. Another character I play versus a lot, Falco. I think Falco goes here. What a big thing that helps with Falco is that we have a consistent punish on their up tilt. Their up tilt is -12. So as long as we're ready, we can always aerial sweep them out of shield, which helps a lot. But even despite that, neutral can be kind of annoying because they have laser and I would argue one of the better reflectors in the game because of how much space it covers. It kind of forces us to play a more careful mid-range game rather than just using long range so they're forced to jump in. And obviously getting comboed and juggled by Falco sucks. But we also have a good amount of combos on them, and if we get them off stage, it's even, I would argue it's even easier to checkmate them off stage than it is Fox. Because they only have so much range with their up B, and like, yeah, they have wall jump stuff, but like with dash attack, F tilt, we're usually ready to two frame that anyways. But I do think with like them having their reflector and having just as good as combos as us while also being a little easier to do in practice, I think if anyone wins, it's Falco, but from my experience of playing it a lot, it's definitely closer to even though. I think Little Mac just goes a slight win. I used to think it low-key could be here. I think it's just slight win though. It's definitely annoying. It's hard as a land versus Little Mac than you would think because of how like fast his up tilt is and how fast he is in general. He can super armor through our combos, and like one wrong read, he can just die pretty early. But even without like crazy good combos, like there's just like simple stuff, we should realistically be hitting them off stage pretty easily. And while like edge guarding isn't as simple as you would think, like if we get the right read, they just die. They actually just die. Like if we counter Jolt Haven, whatever it's called, they just die. If we like call out their counter, they just die. And we're able to wait long enough in the air to even like just bait out these options and take them out. It's definitely a little scary at times because he's super fast and has not okay, I mean broken frame data on the ground. But we should realistically still win. I think the main reason why I'm putting it in slight win over like putting it here though is because even a lot of his moves are fast, they're all punishable. Like F tilt, up tilt, down tilt, dash attack, all these smash attacks. These can all be bare minimum aerial swept out of shield, even like just straight up there. Like he does not have safe grounded moves, and obviously we don't even talk about aerials much. I will try not to get exposed by Peanut the next time we play. So let's do Hero. I put Hero here. My bias wants to put Hero down here, I'm not gonna lie to you. But in reality, I know it's fine. You just have to be willing to play it like very slowly. You have to respect their menu minigame because we're not fast enough to just stop them from pulling it out like Meta Knight or something. If we're going to play the slow game, like just space out their relatively slow aerials and kind of overwhelm them once we do win advantage, it's very doable, but neutral could be annoying because of the menu. Zoom up and zoom off stage kind of just removes our edge guarding, which sucks a lot. But I acknowledge that I'm just kind of bad at the matchup, and it's probably closer to even, but definitely hard. Saibi kind of beats Sora, but after that, Hero's kind of free. It's definitely not kind of free, but it's closer to even than I would like to admit. Cloud, lowest tier, yeah. I do think it's volatile with Ars Arcanum, but like his neutral's just so imposing. He goes here. I don't mind the matchup much because it's a matchup where your combo game kind of has to shine, and I like those matchups, but wow, if you are hitting Ars Arcanum, this sure does feel kind of impossible. I don't really know if there was intended counterplay for this. I don't really know what was happening in the dev studio. If we call it their landing, or just get in there somewhere, they should probably just die, which is why I don't think it's a straight loss, but I'll be honest, this matchup's kind of hard. And I understand why Kameme wanted to swap off for it. And not much to say here, because Cloud is just pretty straightforward. I mean, out of shield's annoying, but if we bait it out, that's another good way to like get an opening for Nair and stuff. But one good option to Cloud Bear is Footstool. Yeah, like Footstool or like what I try to do is I try to just like hit them before they even like throw it out. Like just catch their jump. But yeah, it's a rough matchup for sure. Bowser, I used to be adamant that this was here. And I low-key still think it should probably be there. But I acknowledge that if you don't land the combos, like if you ever drop it, you could just die. Straight up. Like you get hit by like a Nair bear like 60 near the ledge, you just die. You explode. Like if you land the combos, he should just die. And a lot of his stuff isn't very safe on shield. But wow, if you drop anything, like this character is fast and has very easy ways to rack up damage, and we're not heavy enough to want to like lose neutral more than like 2 times versus them. But hey, any Bowser mains want to play in bracket, by all means, I am more than happy to face you. Please understand. I am on the cusp of putting it up here. Do not get it twisted. I still think I will win this free, but I acknowledge the difficulties of it. I think Ridley is a straight up win. No. It goes here. We win it, absolutely. But similar to Bowser, Ridley's pretty fast, and I also think his mid-range is low-key beats ours. Like, the way we beat Ridley is either, like, overwhelming them close range, or, like, forcing them to jump in because of, like, our spells, which is, yeah, like, we do that pretty well. But, like, similar to Bowser, like, if we mess up, we get hurt bad, and their mid-range is, like, unironically good. Like, this is just a huge move. F-Toad is very hard to deal with if they're spacing it correctly. And I also don't think it's super easy to, like, always recover versus the Ridley that knows what they're doing. Not hard necessarily, but I definitely think they have options. Like, I would not put Ridley in the same tier as Dedede or K. Rool at all. I think Bowser's closer to that than Ridley. Let's add another slight win that I need to stop losing. R.O.B. This is absolutely a slight win. I know it's volatile because it's R.O.B. Like, down tilt's broken. He can kill us with, like, rotor arm off stage. I get it, but he is huge. It's so hard for him to just not get hit by our Nair. And do we have to respect the Nair a lot? Yes, but as long as we know to like just kind of stay out of its radius and then just catch his landing, it's so hard for him to just get around even frame traps. And when you put in like true combos, I think that's where it just gets really bad for them. I also don't think their ability to like just wait off stage helps much versus us because of how much time we can wait off stage as well. Like, I've caught a bunch of R.O.Bs that'll try to like stall off stage for a while, and I just kind of sit there using spells and fair until they die. Like, we absolutely win this matchup. The only thing that makes it kind of wonky is like, besides like the clear swing factor R.O.B has, the combos on R.O.B are a little like off-putting because you often have to use like another IDJ Nair to start like good Nair combos because of how big his hurt box is, so like you actually hit the right part of the Nair. It's the reason why Kamehameha was dropping a bunch of combos versus Zamba. But it's absolutely still a slight win. Then Mewtwo goes here. Mewtwo can be a little scary just because of like how explosive he could be in advantage state. And Shadow Ball is another like, you know, neutral B minigame we have to play. But similar to R.O.B, like, it's so hard for them to just not get hit by our aerials. And unlike R.O.B, they're so light that if we get like the right hit of Nair, we can kill them pretty early. But he is very fast in neutral. Pretty good frame data across the board. We both kind of kill each other easily in advantage state, and I think our neutrals are pretty comparable. I just feel like Mewtwo has to put in a little more work to not get hit than we do on average. But it's definitely volatile from what I've played. Incineroar goes here. Similar to Bowser, it's like, okay, we should just be comboing him for free, but if we drop the combo, oh great, you just took 60 from Revenge, and now you're like one hit away from dying. And Ensign's frame data is genuinely extremely good. The only bad thing about this character is his mobility. Like, all of this is nuts. Like, a bunch of these moves like can combo into different stuff, they kill. You just kind of don't want to be around him. And thankfully, because of our spells and our mid-range, we don't have to be around him that much, but wow. In practice, if you mess this stuff up, you can die pretty easily. And I also don't think the combos on him are as simple as like dedede or K. Rool or even Bowser. I think Instant does way better than Bowser because of his moves and down B being frame 3 or something. Yeah, down B being frame 3 sucks a lot. But like, the difference between Instant and Bowser is that Instant can only cover so much area in a short period of time. Bowser's burst range is crazy. Like, he's so fast. Like, if he, like, Bowser can hard call out our fire and like jump in and fair. Instant can't do that. He does get destroyed, but like it's the same reason why Bowser's down here. Like even if we're dropping combos versus dedede and K. Rool, we can still just out neutral them. I feel like if we are letting Bowser and Incineroar play the game, it gets very scary. Or it could get very scary. Ganondorf goes up here though, because he doesn't have neutral. He just hopes you jump in and throws out like nair and up air. And like, sure, if you get hit, it sucks, but like, why are you getting hit? Like this character relies on fear factor, which granted, if you're both near kill percent, it can be a little scary. But I just don't really think that should be happening. Like, his neutral's non-existent. He gets comboed for free, unless he like hard calls out a Faraga with Wizard's Foot. He's not getting in. He gets edge guarded for free. Like just about everything we like to do with Sora Ganon is weak versus. The only good thing he has is like his aerials are pretty safe, actually. But again, he's so slow, and like if we parry any of these slow aerials, we get a punish anyway, so it doesn't even matter. I don't think Ganons are gonna be that disagreeing about this being bad for them. They might argue only a slight win. It's a straight up win. I'm jumping between slight win and this. Ike low-key also gets comboed really hard because he has a frame 4 air dodge. And if we get like a right counter off stage, he can just die. But wow, is this move annoying to deal with when you don't have good mobility. Like, oh no. And this same move leads into like up airs that can kill us very early. Up B, like if we call it out, we can get a really good punish on it. At the same time, it's like if you don't call it out, congrats. Now you're in the air versus Ike, or you might have just died. Ike is a slight win. If you can parry it, he just dies. I mean, kind of. I mean, I feel like if a good Ike is spacing Nair correctly, you really shouldn't be getting hard punishes on it. If it's slight win, it's just because of the fact that he has a frame 4 air dodge, and we probably just shouldn't be dropping combos. But I feel like we can't really play air to air versus him that well. If we hit him before he throws a move out, yeah. But like if he's like preemptively doing something, we either have to like counter it or like just get out of the way. And just from experience versus Ike, I acknowledge that he does have a pretty good ability to just land a couple moves and kill us. What frame does up B armor come out though? Frame 5. So not like broken, but like pretty good. Like I'm pretty certain if they just like instantly up B after our first Nair, I don't think we have enough time to like true punish them. Like we'd have to like shield or get away. But yeah, they can't use it to get out of combos. Is it here or here though? I really don't know. I'm putting it here. I'm new here. I don't think it's as hard as any of the matchups in the lower tier. Oh, did I not put DK yet? Oh, he goes there. Yeah, he gets comboed for free. Ability is kind of scary, but if you just wait for back air or like aerial hand slap, you probably shouldn't be worried about anything. It's edge guard for free, gets comboed for free. His win condition is a grab, and we're constantly in the air. It sucks for him. Captain Falcon. I used to think this was slight win. Now I'm absolutely putting it here. I think we still win it. I still think we should win it a little more often than not, but they're just so fast and explosive. If they like hard call us out, it gets genuinely scary. And if it weren't for like how much we can kind of frame trap them with like fair stuff, I think I would almost argue you could put it a little lower. But I think we should do a little better on average. I lost recently the Falcon Gatsby, but I was just playing extremely bad that entire day. I still think we should be winning that matchup a little more often, but it is for sure volatile. I don't think it's a slight win at all. Rose is a slight win, yeah. I think it's just too easy for us to take out Luma for Rosa to do a lot in the long game. It can be kind of scary to get hit by edge guards, and they do have some cheesy ways to take early stocks, but I feel like once you get past those matchup checks, they have to work way harder. I will say, their up smash does help a lot. Like, having a fast up smash versus a character that wants to be kind of on top of your shield a lot does help, but this character needs Luma, and it's too easy for us to get rid of it. They're also, as far as I know, yeah, very light, so like one decent like Nair combo, they just die. Especially with like the new F-tilt stuff, now we might actually get grabs. Yeah, it's not great for them. Mega Man, I think, is even, but it's us favored. It's definitely even. You think it's us favored, though? I mean, I think, like, Ars Arcanum helps a lot because it's so doable on Mega Man. And even just, like, normal, like, fair drag downs are good. And it's also, like, very hard for them to play mid-range because a lot of their stuff isn't super safe. And we can kind of just nair them. But, like, I feel like this matchup relies a little too hard on us, like, landing the combos to say that like we should just have an easier time, because it's still Mega Man. Like, he still has so many ways to mix up his movement, mix up his disadvantage. Like, we're not juggling this character straight up. If you're juggling a Mega Man, like, you're just like better playering them. They have so many mix-ups. You're getting your damage off of like initial neutral wins and like landing a long combo off of that neutral win. You can't juggle them. Off stage can be pretty hard, and the damage can rack up a lot. It's still absolutely doable though. Like, I still think it's like very close to even, like maybe minus 0.1, but I wouldn't say it's leaning to our favor. That's a little much. Let's do Pac-Man. This might be a hot take. I think Pac-Man goes here. I think it's relatively even, and if anybody wins, it's us. The main reason I think this, yeah, you have to play the slow game, but we have so much counterplay. The Hydra is insane. Back air takes it out instantly. If we down smash it, like on top of it, we have no lag after. If we hard call it out, it up smash just breaks entirely, and it's honestly not that hard of a... It's honestly not that bad of a strategy, just because of how big our up smash is. And yeah, their frame data is fast, but it's not going to do a lot of damage, and I think the main reason why it's slightly our favor is because, or like very slightly our favor, is Pac-Man just doesn't really have a way to like consistently kill outside of like Bell or hard. Can he get Bell with or hard read of like good conditioning because he has a bunch of conditioning tools? Yes, but when you compare it to a character like Sora, who can just kill him like their up smash, can actually edge guard him pretty well because he can be so long off stage. I think Pac-Man low-key struggles a little more. I think Pac is more favorite, but Mega Man is more else favored. Food is hella hard to deal with, but they can be combo food. No, that kind of... I mean, well, Fruit's not always going to be easy to deal with, but I wouldn't say it's like hella hard. We can't stop them from like charging it a lot, but too, because of bracket conditions, some of the stuff becomes really stupid. For example, yeah, like the fear factor's there. I get that, but I just feel like in theory, it's like Sora can kill Pac-Man at like 80, unless Pac-Man gets like a bell read near the ledge at like 80. Like it's gonna be a while until he can actually kill us. And I think something that actually helps a lot is that if he doesn't have Hydrant, he can get juggled pretty hard. And if he throws out Hydrant, like I said, we have tons of counterplay to it, more than the average character, I would say. And we can actually edge guard him, unlike Mega Man, where I think it's a lot harder. Now, I don't see how Pac-Man's combos. Maybe like frame trap them, but even then they can just nair. The Zaga one shots Hydrant too, yeah. Like we have so many different ways to get rid of Hydrant. Sheik, I think I'm gonna put Sheik here. If anyone wins, it's absolutely Sheik, because like Sheik's neutral is obviously amazing. They're so fast. Their frame data is very fast. And they're not doing a crazy amount of damage, but that's because a lot of their moves are just like, they realistically should be winning neutral more. But wow, if they ever trade, they are getting, like, we're doing so much more damage than them, and we can kill them pretty early with like IDJ Fair into up smash, or even like down tilt into up air. I still think it's a little more their favor if they just like hard camp, but from what I've played, Granted, I haven't played Web JP yet, so I don't know, he might, like, destroy me and I might know. But for now, I feel like it's a little annoying if Sheik plays the patient game, but our damage output is just so much better, and our hitboxes are more imposing. I feel like it's closer to even in practice. Dr. Mario is just a slight win. It's the Mario matchup, but like, if like instead of like you land in there, you get a juggle, it should be like if you land in there, they should just lose. Doc probably has the worst recovery in the game, other than like Ganondorf. I think Little Mac, unironically, has better mix-ups than him. And another thing is like Doc's close range isn't as opposing as Mario's because he's slower. Like it's harder for him to even get in the first place. I do acknowledge we can still die pretty early to like if we get caught by like his down B near off stage. His out of shield is still good, but I don't know. I really don't see it being worse than slight win. Plant goes in slight win. I used to almost think it was hard win, but for one, combos on Plant are like weirdly hard. Not hard, but inconsistent. His like hurt box with the stem is really weird. But we can still get a lot of damage off of fair drag down stuff. And counterattack also just kinda beats his special moves. Obviously not as easy in theory versus like better plants, but it's pretty rough for them. But I will say, like, stuff like Patui, up smash, it makes being above them pretty annoying, which is something that Sora likes to do. But I think if we just play it patiently, counter their specials accordingly and stuff, I don't really think we should be losing it much. But it's more volatile than I initially gave it credit for. Wario. Yeah. Okay. This one I'm not very sure on. My brain tells me it goes here. I feel like Wario is just insane combo food and doesn't really like to deal with our sword at all. But he's so fast in the air, if he gets hit it sucks, but I feel like a good Wario shouldn't be getting hit that much. And because we're so slow, if a Wario wants to like hard camp for waft, they can low-key do that. So, considering I haven't had a crazy amount of experience in it, I feel more comfortable putting it here. If anyone wins, it's us, but because of just Wario having that waft kind of forcing us to always either engage or risk that combo, I acknowledge that Wario can absolutely still fight in the matchup, but he just gets comboed for free. And if he has Bike, he also kind of just gets edge guarded for free as well. Let me hear, where's Zero Suit Samus? Oh, I forgot. There you go here. I don't really know where the ZSS even idea came from. I really don't get it. For one, let's just get this out of the way. I think she has arguably the craziest mobility in the game. Full stop. I think she has like the craziest mobility in the game. Like straight up doesn't really have disadvantage state. So like that damage we get from juggle just isn't really there. The juggle damage isn't there. And like, yeah, is she getting a lot of damage per neutral direction? No, which is why I still think it's like doable. But unlike Sheik, where like Sheik actually has to trade at times, ZSS can just Zair. ZSS can unironically just Zair or even like space there. Like, what are we gonna do? It's -4, -2. Again, it's not impossible, but like if the ZSS gets like a decent lead, like if the ZSS gets a stock lead, it's low-key just wraps. I think ZSS has a better time timing out certain characters than Sonic does. I think it's just a wrap. Like you need to like play it patiently and play carefully around ZSS's kill confirms, which is like somewhat simple to do. Like I'll admit, ZSS doesn't have the easiest time killing, but it sucks. Like they don't have a disadvantage, but we do because we're very slow in the air and they're very fast. It's bad, man. Like even Sonic, I feel like you can kind of corner them with spin dash and do something about it. ZSS just says no. I don't think I've ever pulled off a comeback versus ZSS, unironically, unless they just like SD. Let's do Roy and Chrom. I think Chrom goes here and Roy goes here. For both characters, I feel like Ars Arcanum and either kill them or knock them off stage is the goal. But the reason why I think Chrom's a little easier than Roy is because not only is Chrom's recovery just absolutely worse, I also think another underrated aspect about Roy over Chrom is that Roy has that armor out of shield. If I can get through all the double-edged dances. Yeah, he has frame 4 armor out of shield, which helps a lot when Sora's just trying to swing. Chrom doesn't really have an option like that. He has armor on his up B, but it doesn't come out nearly as fast. Frame 10, yeah. Like, that's not an option. So not only is he getting edge guarded way easier, he also can't, like, swat us away from him as easily. But I do acknowledge that even Chrom can still, like, once he wins neutral, like, he can juggle us for free. I would argue he juggles us even better than Roy does. But Chrom's disadvantage and even neutral is just noticeably worse. With Roy, we can kind of play mid-range a little better because, like, again, he needs to be up close. But Roy having that out of shield and like more mix-ups with recovery, I think makes him a little harder to deal with. And I would say in bracket, like as you said, I think it's easier for him to cheese us than it is for us to cheese them in practice. On paper, we should both be killing each other sub 60. I genuinely believe that. But it's much easier for Roy to just get like a tech read and kill us up like F smash or like jab back air than it is for us like Ars Arcanum or like get like the right edge guard. Villager and Isabelle. Villager's a slight win. I don't think people can disagree with me on that. Mid-range, non-existent. They get juggled pretty easily. Even their slingshot's not super good for them because we can crouch under it, which I didn't do enough when I played Elam. The only really scary thing about them is that their ledge trapping is like actually pretty scary with like bowling ball and stuff. And their frame data is like their nair is actually pretty fast, so we don't really want to be straight up close range, but I still think we slight win. Low key, Isabelle's here. Isabelle's harder. We should still win, but I actually think it's a little harder. Because for one, I think Isabelle has easier ways to scrap up closer. Scrap like up there, better up tilt. There's -2 or -3. Their fair and back are a little safer. I think her up air and down air are a little safer as well. Like she just has an easier time scrapping, which I think helps a lot in this matchup. And I think versus Sora, it's better to have like more of like the set play, I guess, that Isabelle does, rather than just like the straight up zoning that Villager has. Although Villager does have set play as well. I feel like Isabelle's is a little more straightforward and better at dealing with Sora. They both probably lose. I low-key almost want to put Isabelle up here anyways. But I do think Villager loses a little harder. Yeah, the F-Tilt 2 thing does help a lot though. That might honestly move Isabelle up here anyways, but I'm gonna leave Isabelle here. Wolf, dude? I've jumped back and forth on this a lot. He's either here or here. I think he issues a slight loss. It's not too bad, right? He still has to respect our sword a decent amount. We can get some damage off of like fair drag downs. And if we get the right read off stage, he just dies. But it is so easy for him to just weave back like in and out when he wants to. His aerials are a lot harder to deal with because of how fast he is. And we don't have good counterplay to laser. Basically what happens is he'll shoot a laser, we shoot fire, he does more damage with the laser, and then he just shoots another laser and he just gets out of the way because like now we have Thundaga, we have to either like burn it in some way without getting lasered again. And I feel like that's the main reason why I think it might just be a slight loss, is because we both have ways to get kind of explosive kills, him with like fair back air, us with like, you know, our confirms and count and edge guarding, and him with ledge trapping. I just feel like Wolf should more often than not be winning neutral. Wolf should have an easier time, but recently I've considered putting Wolf up here. I've kind of considered it, but I'm gonna leave him here. It's iffy, man. I just don't think Wolf should be losing neutral like that, personally. Like, I think Wolf has an even more nuanced neutral than Fox does. Despite not being as explosive. I think I'm gonna just leave Wolf there. -1's fine. And now the Links. I didn't do any of them. I think Link and Toon Link go here, and Young Link goes here. Pros of Link. His close range is straight up obnoxious. Obnoxious. I would almost say it's more obnoxious than Young Link, low-key, because it's just 2 moves. It's just Nair and back air. And you can't do anything about it. And he has like the scariest ledge trapping of all, because Pharaoh just, like, you would just explode to this move at like 80. And he has the most nuanced bomb and overall projectile play, I think. Maybe not overall, because Young Link actually has usable arrows. But Link definitely has that going for him. But I also feel like he low-key just gets out-camped. Like, if we counterattack and like evade Boomerang, all he really has is bomb and relatively bad mobility. I feel like spells can kind of corner him and force him to have to go into us, which makes it easier for us to land stuff at mid-range rather than having like jump, like go under him and have to deal with his close range stuff. Definitely still volatile, but I do think if it leans anyone, it's us. Toon Link is an interesting case. I think what Toon Link has, Toon Link is definitely faster, so it's easier for him to like weave in and out and like whiff punish stuff. He's also a lot stubbier overall, so it's harder for him to impose himself when we're in those close range battles. He's also a lot easier to actually juggle, because like unless he like hard calls out our option with downer, he doesn't really have a good landing option. But I would argue that like the better mobility still evens it out between Link and Toon Link, but we should generally be beating both a little more. Young Link isn't that fast, but not only do they have amazing frame data across the board, I think the main reason why this one is a little harder is because they have a usable arrow in neutral. This arrow in neutral is huge, because like it forces us to even like respect Boomerang a lot more, because we can't just like wait out Boomerang and counter it. We have to always ready the shield fire arrow, and it makes them a lot more imposing to where like even if we have the lead, hard camping them isn't really an option, because like we don't beat out all of these options really. And although none of their moves are super good at killing on their own, he has kill confirms off of literally everything. And we can Ars Arcana on them pretty well, but I think Young Link does have the overall advantage. Although, like Toon Link, he's also pretty stubby, so that helps a lot. I just feel like him having that fire arrow and just better frame data across the board makes him a little harder than Toon Link and Adult Link. I haven't done Steve yet. I think I'm gonna put Steve in this one. The way I describe the Steve matchup is, I think if Steve was a balanced character, we would straight up win. Like, I think we kind of counter a lot of the general stuff Steve wants to do. It's not super easy for him to just like swing at us because he's really slow. We have Dundaga to deal with his TNT setups off stage. Really all of his setups off stage. Sora just has the mix-ups to get around, which is how he gets a lot of his kills. And counterattack makes his minecart way more committal. So I feel like in theory we should win, but he's just so strong. Like, it's so easy for him to just like get like a random up tilt combo and just like even it up. And the main reason why I don't see this being better than even, because of how slow we are, it's really hard for us to realistically stop Steve from like mining stuff. Like, I don't think I've ever had Steve at a position where he was like low on materials. There's not really a safe way to just like dash in and stop Steve from mining without like risking getting up to and taking 1 million damage. So although I still think we beat Steve's general flowchart to where it should be a little more leaning towards us, just because Steve is so strong and the best character in the game, I don't think it's better than even. Terry, I think, goes here. I think Terry goes there. Some sources think this is a straight up slight winning. I disagree, because like Terry, like the close range Terry Vortex is real. Like, even with SDI, like it can be hard to get out of the stuff he's doing, and it can also be kind of hard to approach a Terry that's like hard committed to like backdashing and power waving, let alone the fact that we just straight up aren't punishing their aerials for the most part. But they can get comboed pretty hard, and we should be edge guarding them pretty consistently. And you know, our sword versus the like close range fighters is always going to give us a better mid range. I think it's a little more our favorite, but I don't think it's nearly as easy as a lot of swords would say it is. And it also relies a lot on you like consistently killing Terry with like a confirm or an edge guard. Because if you let Terry get go, have fun. Have fun dealing with go Terry as like a slow floaty. Banjo just goes in slight win. Banjo is pretty slow on his own right, gets comboed for free. I will say dealing with his projectile camping requires good patience, and like one wrong read can lead to us getting like rear egg into Wonder Wing can kill us extremely early. So you do have to respect his neutral a good amount. And when we have a deficit, it can be kind of hard to deal with Banjo, just hard camping, but he just gets comboed for free, and his frame data is just bad. I'll say it. It's just bad. So I still feel like we should be getting those openings pretty consistently and winning. But it's not super easy. Let's get another dog and duck out of the way. Or what, mammal and duck, I guess. Duck Hunt. Duck Hunt is definitely somewhere even. I don't know where, though. Soras seem to think we win this. Duck Hunt seem to think we lose this. I think I want to go here. I think it's probably even, but if it leans toward anyone, it's Duck Hunt, because like we're not winning the long range game, and they have frame one options that end our combo, so it's like we have to play patiently around their neutral. We can juggle them pretty well, but it's not that easy in practice. And again, because we're light, it makes Duck Hunt's weakness of generally having a harder time killing not too bad. Again, we can juggle them pretty well. We win mid range outright. And we have some counterplay to their projectiles, like if we counter their cannon close up, it makes it to where it can hurt them too, so they have to play a lot more carefully around it. And we can like wait long enough off stage to generally edge guard them pretty well. But like we aren't winning a long range game straight up, and counterattack doesn't help us that much in a matchup, which is how we generally beat a lot of other zoners. So that plus the fact that it's hard to get like super intricate combos on them, I do think Duck Hunt wins a little bit, but not noticeable if you know the matchup. But I think Duck Hunt goes there. Yoshi, I didn't do Yoshi. I think Yoshi goes here. I don't think it's a slight win. I think it's still close to even, but I acknowledge that Yoshi doesn't really have a super easy way to approach in general. Like he kind of has to hard call something out and whiff punish, and whiff punishing Sora is easier said than done. And again, it's kind of hard for him to like realistically box with mid-range tool like swords. It's always been an issue for Yoshi. His frame rate is good, but not insane. Like with parrying, like we can like punish fair and down air. Up airs, landing up air can be annoying, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. Landing versus Yoshi can suck. He can get a lot of damage if he gets like the right read. Like landing can suck. Like disadvantage is not fun versus Yoshi, but I think we just have an easier time in neutral. And although we aren't getting a crazy amount off of neutral wins because of his double jump armor, we can still usually put him in a bad spot, and like ecto camping like doesn't work versus us. Like if we know what we're doing, we're not getting camped by ecto. Our spells will eat that up. He has to approach. So while I do think it's volatile enough to where Yoshi can definitely still win, the more I've thought about it, the more I do think it's probably a little towards us. A little. But not much. Puff. This might be a hot take. I think Puff goes here too. In theory, it's leaning a little more towards us, but like, dude, if you mess up once, this character is going to drift in, up air you, or back fair you, whatever, and like you're one read away from just straight up dying. You can die at any time, at any point. Yes, if like they hit your shield, you get a free up B, you get a free nair, and they're light. So even though we don't get like crazy combos, they can still just die to up smash. I get that, but I feel like it's so hard to judge Puff outside of like in practice, because in theory, okay, yeah, she's stubby. It's like, oh, just like swat her out, bro. But like, come on, she's gonna get in eventually. She's gonna land an up air, and you might just die of it.
we're not killing Puff at 50. We're killing Puff like 70, 80 after like winning like 2 or 3 neutral interactions, where all of those could lead to us like dying. I might be overselling it. It might be slight win. Yeah, I'm putting Puff here. I'm overselling it a bit, but they can definitely do it. They can absolutely do it. But I was overselling it a bit. She still kind of gets swatted out. Lucario is another annoying one because this will easily turn into a problem if you aren't killing them early. But we do have like the Nair confirms to kill them early. The problem is that they're in the air so much, just charging their Aura Sphere or whatever, that it can actually be pretty hard to like link up like a consistent up smash confirm on like an evasive Lucario. I still think because of just like our general better hitboxes and the fact that we do have a decent amount of confirms off of just random stuff, we should be winning a little more consistently, but it is extremely volatile, and if you don't know what you're doing versus Lucario, you can very quickly just die. I don't like this matchup personally, even if it is like slightly our favor in theory. Pikachu, he's either here or here. It's definitely somewhere in even. I think I'm gonna put him there, just because like if a Pikachu like hard commits to camping, there's not much you can do. But he's so stubby, and his close range game isn't nearly as good as Pichu, so like he kind of has to hard camp. But also disadvantage sucks versus this character. Like if you gave her like a back air string, like even if you don't die to it, you're like one read away from just dying off stage. So yeah, he has to hard camp and eventually get an opening. But when he does get the opening, it can suck a lot. Yeah, and like nairing him can be annoying because of how slow his hurt box is. But our confirms are still there on Pikachu, and he can die pretty early to them, and our hitboxes in general are pretty hard for him to deal with at mid-range or even close range, because his, like, unlike Pichu, his close range frame data isn't as amazing. It's also a lot harder for him to kill us compared to Pichu, but unlike Pichu, he can actually play that long-term neutral game and just waiting for a win, waiting for a neutral win. To where, in theory, I feel more comfortable saying if anyone wins, it's Pikachu, but I don't think it's that bad. Ryu and Ken. I think Ken goes here, and Ryu goes... where'd he go? He goes here. I think we should probably beat both, but Ken being, like, a lot more close range hurts him more, because it forces him to have to, like, directly interact with our mid-range more by default. And yeah, his combos are scary, but if we just like commit to just like going off stage, like air dodging off after he hits us, he doesn't really have the means to like chase us off and punish us for it. Whereas we can juggle him pretty well, even with his focus attack armor. We have enough multi-hits and ways to deal with it, really. I think Ryu is a little harder to deal with because Ryu can actually somewhat commit to playing long range. Due to this extremely broken. The Shakunetsu Hodoken, that move is crazy. That move is insane. Like the multi-hit aspect of it, it's way easier to get confirms with it. It's crazy shield damage. Like if we don't have Faraga on deck, we have to respect that in neutral. So I think Ryu does a lot more. Also the fact he doesn't rely on as many like SDI-able stuff, he kind of just hits you. I think it helps him, but on paper, I still think we should generally beat both. Kirby, I'm gonna just put up there. It can be annoying because they can low profile a lot of stuff, but it's Kirby. They're like the easiest character to juggle in the game. As long as we don't let them inhale us, they kind of just get camped by spells. And especially with like the new F-Toe confirm, you can kill them very early. It sucks if Kirby gets in, and it sucks even more if Kirby gets our copy ability, but more often than not, we really shouldn't be letting that happen. It's also pretty easy to edge guard him because of how slow he is. Ice climbers, I think, also go up here. It's really, I don't want to say really easy, but it's pretty easy to break apart the ice climbers by just repeatedly throwing out spells until they eventually have to get hit. And if Nana is ever separate, you can just straight up like IDJ upper Nana up B, they're not gonna air dodge or anything, they're just gonna die. I would almost say you can almost argue Ice Times would be up here if you're hard committing to just taking out mana and then just camping Popo until they jump off. If you really wanted to do that, but it's definitely some form of winning. I acknowledge that like the combos are definitely scary and you can't really like fish for your own combos, but you also don't really have to. I didn't put Marth down. I think Marth just goes to Lucina. I think they're kind of similar. I think what Marth gives up in like more consistency and not being able to edge guard as well, he can kind of just kill us in neutral easier. It's about the same thing, I'd say. Wii Fit Trainer. I think Wii Fit goes here. A decent amount of people think that Wii Fit we might just slightly beat them. I think Deep Breathing is broken, and we don't have a good enough way to consistently stop Wii Fit from getting that because we're too slow. So like you're just gonna be dealing with Deep Breathing Wii Fit for a lot of the game, and trying to not die to like Nair confirms like hell you at 50. All of their moves doing crazy shield damage for some reason. Granted, without Deep Breathing, their hitboxes are kind of bad, so we should be winning those air-to-airs, those like trades. We don't have to respect their ledge camping too much because we have spells. And if they have Deep Breathing, they actually become a little easier to combo. But I still feel like how volatile Deep Breathing is, especially if we're at a deficit and we have to approach them, it can get really annoying. Let's do the Belmonts. I think Belmont goes here. The zoning can be hard to deal with, I get that, but like once we're in, and if we get like the right call, if we like call out their up B or just like grab them, it is so hard for them to get at disadvantage. Not only is it hard for them to get at disadvantage, like just from like landing, off stage is really bad for them, and I don't think they can checkmate us on ledge as well as you would think, just because we have so many mixes of how we move. Like we can like jump over stuff, we can like Sonic Blade like as you like throwing on an axe or the Holy Water. We can like stall, like go to another ledge because it's not very fast. Like we have a lot of ways to get around it, and like again, no way is like perfect. We can still absolutely die at the ledge, but he can't really checkmate us in a way that would make the matchup like losing. If we just play patiently around his projectiles, use counterattack accordingly, and land our confirms, I think it's a little leaning towards us, but it's definitely volatile. Robin, I think Robin also goes here. The thing with Robin is that I think the reason why I think we were closer to winning this is because their tools are all related to like managing like meters and stuff. So if we played a long con and are just careful of like how we use Faraga, making sure we play defensive when we need to, I think they should just lose in long term. But wow, like honestly, Thunder is just an amazing tool. 11 Sword is just straight up broken. We can absolutely just lose a stock like super quickly if we aren't playing careful and aren't paying attention to what they have ready. I think due to the fact that it's all relying on stuff that can be worn out, if Sora just plays the long game and approaches when they don't have 11 Sword, uses Faraga to deal with like the Thunder, I think we have the tools to make it a little easier for us, but it is definitely volatile in practice due to how light we are and floaty. Olimar, I think, goes here. Olimar can be really explosive with his damage, but I think Sora has a pretty easy time taking out Pikmin, not only up air, but even like if they throw like a purple on the ground and we're good enough to like IDJ Nair it, we can IDJ Nair and just like shred the purple Pikmin, and that can hurt them a lot. But I do acknowledge that when they have like purple Pikmin and even like red, they're basically an unpunishable sortie, which can be hard to deal with, and their Whistle makes it harder to like combo them consistently. But even with Whistle, they still can juggle pretty well. We deal with Pikmin pretty well, but also because we're so slow, it's hard for us to realistically stop them from getting good lineups at times. We kind of just have to play patiently throughout the whole thing and make the most of our openings when we get them, but I think we do have a slightly easier time. Corrin. This might be a hot take. I think we slightly beat Corrin. A lot of sources say it's even. I don't really get it. We both mess each other up in advantage state. It just kind of comes down to who wins neutral. I feel like Sora wins neutral pretty consistently because they don't really have the mobility to whiff punish our spells a lot. So it kind of just turns into them having to approach a lot. We catch their landing. We land like Ars Arcanum. We either just kill them off the bat or we
or we counter them. And even if you aren't ours economing, like, again, like, their neutral B is not beating out our spells, so they're forced to jump in. If they win neutral, it is very scary. We get juggled very hard. We can die to their pin pretty early. But, I mean, again, like I said, we both mess each other up when we win neutral. It's just, I just think Sora should be winning neutral much more consistently. Alright, Inkling, I'd say goes here. We don't really have a clear way to deal with Splattershot other than just letting them run out of ink. They're very mobile, and it can be hard to deal with an evasive Inkling, but it's much easier for us to win trades, and we're doing more damage on average, even with their ink, as long as we just play carefully around it and like understand, like, okay, when we have ink on us, we should not be like really approaching. We should be letting it run out, force them to run to us, and it becomes a lot easier. But it can be pretty hard to deal with an Inkling, especially if they do get that decent lead and just kind of start hard committing the campaign. It can get out of hand. Me, a Sword Fighter, I think we just slightly beat. Their mid-range is solid, but we still, like, we get more off of neutral wins than them, realistically. And their zoning can be a little annoying, but counterattack plus Sonic Blade, their mobility isn't enough to make it too imposing. I think we kind of both play a similar game, just that, okay, they're, like, zoning and juggling. We can also kind of zone and juggle while also just having that X factor with our longer combos. So I think we do win that more often. Might be a hot take. I think we also slightly beat Me Gunner. I think counterattack just kind of beats their projectiles most of the time. Not beats, but like it makes it to where we don't really have to like take the shield damage. We can just kind of inch our way in. They get juggled pretty hard, and I feel like it's hard for them to keep us out in the way that they would like to. Me Brawler, I actually think goes down here. I think it's even, but they're similar to Fox in that they kind of land on us for free and we can't do much about it. They don't have a reflector or anything. They have to respect our projectiles a lot more, and their frame data isn't as egregious, but it's still very good, and we can definitely die early off of like down throw upper or like Thruck or whatever. And even like stuff like back air, jab locks, like they are definitely very menacing. It's like another fair version of the Fox matchup. And unless I am mistaken, I think that's everyone.